I'm going to make a video about Armageddon Empires by popular demand. So this game is a turn-based, hex-based, car-based wargame set in a post-apocalyptic future where humans fight against evil aliens and evil robots and evil mutants. The game, I think, is really fun. It's really deep, but it has a really bad user interface. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to walk you through the first 24 turns or so. It's going to be a mixture of a let's play and an instructional video. Okay, so just before we start, you can buy the game from Cryptic Comet. I'm going to put a link into the YouTube description, and there's also a demo. It runs on Windows and Mac, and this is actually running on Wine on Linux, so that works pretty well. Okay, new game. So as I mentioned, this game is card based, which means that each thing you deploy, each building, each unit is on a card, and you can only build it if you have the card for that. So in that sense, it's a bit like Magic the Gathering, and you create decks of cards for play. Right now I'm just going to choose the standard starter deck for the Imperials, which is the normal humans. Okay. And what else in the setup? I need to choose who I'm fighting against. I'm going to fight against evil robots and evil aliens. Going to leave the other setup at standard. Not going to enable these cults. They're a really fun addition, but they make the game even harder. Start the game. Okay, so here you see the interface. You can see the hexes. You can see the resources up here, and here you see the first glance of the main resolution mechanic in this game, which is rolling pools of dice. And you're going to do a lot of this. And so the very first tip I'm going to give you is, instead of clicking roll die, you can always just hit F. I don't know why it's F, but that works, and that makes it a bit easier. And also, instead of pressing things which are kind of OK or whatever, you can also usually just press F. So I press F again. So what happened just there is that the three players all rolled a pool of dice and decided who got to go first in laying down their tiles, which are the starting hexes I'm going to start with. Now this is actually really irrelevant in this case because the tiles aren't going to overlap, and we just have one tile down here in our hand, just a staging area. And the important thing about this tile is these four blobs here, which mean that it has available each turn one human resource, one materials resource, one energy resource, and one tech resource. That's going to be our kind of base income to start being able to build things in the game. So drag this onto a hex. In general, whenever you have a card or tile or something, you drag it to the location you want it. Then we press set tile. Then we drag our stronghold, which is the initial building we start out with, onto that tile. Now the important thing here is this line RC, which means it has resource collection for one human, one material, one technology, and one energy, which means that together with this we will then have a steady income of one of each of the four resources per turn. And you can see how many resources you have here at the top. Okay, so that's the setup done. There's not really much variation in here, just kind of whiz through this. Now we'll wait for the game map to be created. The whole thing is written in Macromedia Director, which means it's really astoundingly slow, but on a modern computer it's kind of bearable. Okay, so here we are. This is the proper game. So the game is turn-based, and at the start of each set of turns you have this initiative die roll. So each player rolls a bunch of dice to determine who gets to go first and how many action points you get to do things with. Pretty much anything you do requires action points. They're the fifth resource in a sense. They're these little red blobs here, and they refresh each turn. And so the way this works is that each player rolls a pool of dice, and then you go in order of how many successes you've had. And you can spend your resources to get extra dice to make it more likely that you get to go first and have more action points. Now right at the start this is completely pointless. Right at the start we don't have that much to do and we really need our resources, but towards the end game sometimes you end up buying a lot of dice to be able to move faster, more quickly than the other player. So for now we're just going to hit done, and we can hit F to do the rolling, and we end up getting third place. So the evil robots are going to go first, followed by the evil aliens, and then it's us, and we get the least number of action points as well. But for now this doesn't matter, 6 is more than enough. Okay, here we are starting our first turn. So this is our base. It consists out of 2 parts. If you click on here you can see the buildings in this space, which right now if you click on here there's just the Imperial Palace. And as I mentioned before, this collects a bunch of resources. It also extends your supply range around it. Supply range is important because if your units are outside of supply, they become very bad, they move slowly, they're worse at fighting. And it has a barracks ability, which means you can actually deploy cards there by dragging them there. Okay, and the other bit here on the right, if you click on that, that's the list of armies you have in this location. So armies are stacks of units, and that's the basis on which you move things around in game. So let's start by creating our first army. Here at the bottom we have all of our cards which we currently have in hand. We have a hand limit of 8 right now, and we have 7 cards. And here, conveniently, we have this light tank, which is a recon tank. So you can hover over each card to see what they do. And here, for example, you can see this tank costs 2 action points to deploy, costs 1 of each resource to build, and it has hit points, attack and defense and movement rate and so on, the kind of thing you'd expect. It also has a recon ability which allows it to see further than normal units, which is exactly what we want right now. So we grab this and we drag it into our staging area. There we go. And immediately the recon ability activates, and we can now see a bit further, and we can see that here to the south there's some other thing, namely there's a minefield. So it's quite useful. Let's not go into that tile ever. Okay, now we want to move this tank around to start doing some scouting. You click on the armies again, and here you can see now each base has a default army, which is its garrison. And so by default the tank just gets deployed into the garrison. But we want to move it around, so we create an army that also costs 3 action points, and we call it Recon 1. And we drag our tank into Recon 1. Okay, so now we have a separate army containing 1 tank with which we can go scouting. How do we do this? Well, the other thing apart from auto dragging is that if you want to do anything at all in this game, you need to right click on stuff. I spent like the first hour playing this game kind of despairing because it didn't really seem to work, because I didn't realize that you had to right click on things to make stuff happen. So if we right click here on the armies, we then get a list of actions that we can make. And in this case, our action that's available is moving Recon 1. That costs us 1 action point, which is exactly how much we have. And it has 3 movement points. And so movement just works by moving from hex to hex. And one important weird detail is movement costs. Movement costs are shown by the color of the edges of the tiles. So the light colored edges have a low movement cost, whereas the dark colored edges have a high movement cost. This took me forever to find out. So for example, this set of creators here has a very high movement cost to go into. So if we go in there, it will take us a lot of action points to move, a lot of movement points to go in, and it'll also take us a lot of movement points to go out again because we're sort of stuck. Even worse with these mountains, whereas these sands and flats here, we can move across them very quickly, which is what we're going to do now. So we right click, we select this option, and now we can click on the tile we want to go to. Note that there doesn't seem to be any way of backing out of this, so that's one of the bad bits in the UI. Let's click here first, and we can see that's just some desert. Now click here, there's some sand dunes, and click here, there's some steppes. Okay, so we've done our first little bit of exploration. The reason why we're doing this is we're looking for more resources to gather, we're looking for goodies that we might find, and ultimately, of course, we're looking for our enemies that are out there somewhere. We really want to discover them and shoot them in the face before they can do the same to us. Okay, so the other thing which I mentioned is the supply thing. You can click on this button here to show your supply range. And now you can see everything where it's green, your armies will be supplied in the field, which means they can move at full speed and fight at full strength. It's sometimes you have to move out of your supply range, but it's really annoying when you have to. And you can extend your supply range by building extra bases, which I'll get to in a bit probably. Okay, so that's everything we can do. We've run out of action points. So let's just end the turn. And now it's time for the second turn. And again, we can buy initiative. Again, we don't want to. We really want to save up resources right now. Let's just hit F a bunch of times. Okay, again, third. Doesn't really matter. Okay. So let's do more exploration, staying within the supply range. Right click on Recon 1, select it. Ah, let's see. Now this is a nice thing, we found a goodie hut. And obviously we want to claim these abandoned warehouses. And very nicely we now have lots of materials and lots of tech, which is going to be really useful for building gigantic war machines. Okay. So that's the exploration bit done. Now let's see what else we can do. So apart from normal units like these guys with guns, there's also bases we can build. For example these, so these extend supply range. And there's heroes. Each army can be commanded by one hero and gives it a bunch of bonuses. There's military heroes like this guy. So this guy, for example, adds movement speed, and he can execute tactics cards, which are another kind of card you can make more cheaply. Whereas this guy actually is good at logistics, so he increases the supply range and increases the hand size. So that's a really good one to install pretty quickly, actually. For now, we don't have enough human resources to do anything except buy this piece of artillery. Doesn't make a lot of sense on its own, so we're just going to spend some action points drawing new cards. Bonk. Okay, so we spent 3 action points to draw a new card, and we got a Imperial War College, which is a facility, so it's not a base, it's something we could drag, say, onto here to get this new building in there, and that lets us collect human resources and also lets us create these tactics cards. Okay, end turn. Now we have lots more resources, but we still want to keep them all because we need them for terrible purposes. Keep exploring. So this desert here happens to contain some materials resources. So the way we can collect these is that we can send a hero over there, and then the hero can build a resource collector, and then we'll get 1 extra materials resource each turn. The only problem is it's really far away from our main base. It's probably closer to the enemy bases, so it may not be worth building the collector there because it's probably just going to get destroyed again. Anyway, for now what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy here and drop him onto our staging area. We'll leave him in the garrison, and he's now in charge of the garrison, and he's going to improve our hand size and improve our supply range, which is nice. We don't need improved hand size, let's... Okay, so another scout tank. And turn. So now that we are scouting things, really the next important step is to build some kind of basic military force. Right now our staging area is completely undefended. Like a single enemy scout, if it blundered into our palace right now could actually wipe us out to make us lose the game. So we really desperately need some guys with guns. So I'm saving up for these guys who are like heavy infantry and can be relied upon to like provide some really basic defense. And of course we're going to keep on exploring, so now we have a bigger supply range. But let's explore the more nearby areas. More cool stuff. Excellent. It's something unusual. It's a personal shield. That's really nice. So that's a piece of equipment we can drop onto a hero and makes the hero more resistant against assassination. So there's assassin heroes and sniper units that specialize in killing off enemy heroes, which is really annoying. So let's accept this, and yeah, let's just drop this thing onto onto Vincent Mudge here. So you can see there's a little clip-like thing which lets us see what it's attached to, and now he's a lot better at not being shot, which is good because it's really valuable. Okay. We now have a lot of action points and nothing to do with, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use those action points to create some armies, which we'll fill in later, because I'm just waiting to get enough humans to build these Emperor Zone guys. Now this is pretty useful. This is a medium-sized tank and it needs fewer people, so I might actually build that one first. Cool. Oh yeah, so the reason why I'm not building all of this artillery I have is that combat, as you'll see in a bit, hopefully has two ranks, front rank and back rank, and artillery you really want to deploy in the back rank, because if you don't, they get destroyed really easily. So I'm waiting to have enough units to put into the front rank to protect the back rank before I build artillery. Enter. Really hoping to get some combat here soon so I can actually show the combat. Have to find some people to shoot. Oh, more goodies. Wow, okay. We're really getting a lot of goodies here. This is a bit atypical, but it's nice. Okay, so let's build this Panther. Someone likes German tanks, the developer likes German tanks, and let's move this guy onto the first army. So now we have like our first kind of proper non-recon army consisting of one tank, and let's also put in one of these artillery pieces, probably this one. Okay, now we're not completely defenseless. That's another really nice tank. So once we have 2 more humans, I will build that tank, and then we'll have actually a decent army to shoot things with. Keep on exploring, looking for potential victims for our army. Not much to do here. So because you have a hand limit, sometimes there's cards which you just really don't need, and you really need other cards, so you can right click on these and discard them if you want, but they're gone forever. They don't get shuffled back into your draw pile, they're just gone. And note, you have a limited number of cards. Once I've drawn all of these additional 43 cards, I'm just done. I can't build anything anymore. It's less bad than it sounds, because you can use technologist heroes to build enhancements for your units, and you can use kind of leader heroes to build make training for your units, and there's even a few ways in which you can spend a lot of resources to get extra units that don't come out of your hand, but still, I mean, yeah, don't just throw away your hand. Ah, haha, we found the evil aliens. Here they are, so this is their main base. You can see it's somewhat similar to ours in terms of what it can do. You can do resource collection and so on. And you can see here their armies. Currently they have no armies. They don't have any defenses. And they're in supply range. This calls for an instant screaming trek across the desert to one-shot them before they can get up to enemy ship. So before we do that, we just want to deploy some more units. Namely, we really want a leader for our small army. This guy, Vladimir Kost, who is going to make them move much faster, which is exactly what we want for our mad dash across the desert. So drop him in here. And now we can drag him here into the first army. Now you can see that he's commanding. So the thing is, with an army without a commander, you can only have 3 units before they start becoming less effective. And heroes have a command rate, which is the number of units they can command effectively. In this case it's 8, so it's the full size of an army. Okay, so we've got this guy. Let's right click, select the first army, and start our mad dash across the desert to blow up the aliens. Okay, so next turn we might be able to just go in there and shoot them. End turn. They still get to do their turn. Okay, now is exactly a situation that's actually worth spending resources on dice. Because for all I know, there's some massive alien monstrosity near their base, and it might come home at any time, and then we have a massive fight on our hands. But right now it's undefended, so we want to go first. So I'm going to spend quite a lot of our hard-won resources to get 3 more dice, so hopefully I'll have more successes, and I'll get to move first, and just wipe them out before they can do anything. Yep, that worked. Okay, so we get to move first, and unfortunately they've already moved the army. But they actually only have this one guy, which is like a mid-size unit, so we can probably take them. Especially because our guy, because we actually have a leader, he also has these fate points which we can use to do things like re-rolling dice. So we've got some advantages here. Let's select the first army and dash right in, shouting and shooting. Okay, so once you encounter an enemy, you get this interface which lets you select who to fight against. So we're going to fight against these xenopods here. And yeah, we just want to attack them. Yep, right, there we go. So now I actually don't have enough units in the front rank to protect my artillery, which means my artillery is going to be out in front and be really vulnerable, which is stupid, but you know what mattered right now was speed, not doing it right. So this is the combat interface anyway. You can see these are the enemy ranks, these are our ranks. It works in rounds. Each round you can choose a unit to attack with, and then the enemy chooses a unit to attack with, and back and forth. And we have initiative, which means that we start, which is nice. We're ready? Well, okay, I didn't know, but we would obviously get initiative because we have a hero and they don't, so. Right, so this is our enemy here. Yeah, they've got like the special side attack ability, which makes them more dangerous than it looks like. But that's okay. we're going to try attacking them with this guy here, which has a shock attack. So if I make even 1 point of damage against him, he loses his turn, and then I can just pummel him. So again, right click to do anything, right click on this to do combat attack, click on the enemy card and roll the dice. And I do exactly 1 damage, which is perfect. He still has 3 hit points left, but he's out of commission for the round, which means I can now use this guy to attack, and I'm going to use the Assault 5 ability of this one, which means basically I get a double strength attack, but can't do my next turn, which is fine, because really what I would like is to just wipe this guy out immediately. Yep. And I do. Bang. So we shot him with some artillery, and while he was still stunned, we just went straight forward and shot him in the face with a tank. Perfect. We didn't take 1 bit of damage, the enemy didn't even get to act, and we have now officially taken over the alien base. So, just to show, like, this is really, it's a war game, it's about maneuvering. Having troops is important, having income is important, but sometimes just taking a chance and, like, surprising the enemy when their pants are down is enough to win. So we've already taken out one of our 2 enemies, and now of course the very next thing we need to do is slightly panic and as soon as possible reinforce our base here. With more units, because the same thing could happen to us right now. So those are really the basics. You create armies out of units, you ideally put some people in charge of them, and you explore, and you find the enemy and you shoot the enemy. Also, the other thing which I guess I should show you is how resource collectors work. So I'm just going to ignore proper gameplay from now on. I'm just going to quickly show you how to set up a resource collector, because that's another thing which took me forever to find out, and it's really important, because obviously the more resources you have, the more stuff you can build, and you can always use surplus resources to buy dice and get more actions. So yeah, abandoning sensible play here. So the xenopods have now been wiped out, and it's just evil robots that are left. So in order to build a resource collector, we need to have a hero unit, any hero unit on that hex. So we're just going to move the first army over here to this desert, where there's some materials resource. Click on the army, and then right click on the hero, and then we can click on this to set up a materials team, which costs us some stuff, but now every turn we get 1 extra materials, which is pretty nice. So we're now getting a lot of income, because we've also captured this guy, gives us income, and we're now in a really strong position to basically just sit there for a while, build up our armies, do some scouting, figure out where the evil robots are, and then just crush them with a massive stack of expensive units. Okay. So yeah, that's Armageddon Empires. I'm going to stop at this point. It's already been quite a long video. I hope it's been helpful. Remember, dragging and right-clicking are your friends. The manual is kind of helpful, and yeah, if you play it, let me know if you have additional questions and confusions. I could do a follow-up video where I just go through a series of how to do this one specific thing, if it's helpful.